Hello and welcome to the Stuck in the Mail podcast. We are here. It is summertime, and it's time to talk
It
about
is.
Bon Iver with their album Bon Iver, Bon Iver. This was released in
Oh,
2011. It is their second album. And Casey, is this your first experience with Bon Iver?
it is. They are an unknown to me, but also I was thinking about that interesting dichotomy of Bon Hiver, which means good winter, and it is now summer. So excellent pick, Mike.
Well, this album was released in June, so
Fair,
do
fair.
you know the backstory behind the band's name?
I just know that it means good winter, and it's like Quebecois or something. It's kind of slang a little bit.
Well, we kind of have to go back to the lore of Bon Iver and how this all came about. So I'm just going to put it out there, everybody. Oh, I should show the thumbnail. I am not well versed in Bon Iver. Like I know a little bit, but I kind of like it. I kind of like the mystery of this band because I don't know. I just that's part of the joy of discovering them for me. But here's as the story goes. Justin Vernon, who is, the creative force behind Bon Iver, let's say.
Yes.
As the story goes, he basically locked himself in a cabin in the middle of the winter in northern Wisconsin, I believe, and channeled his heartbreak into music. And that is the first Bon Iver album, which is called For Emma, Forever Ago. It's essentially a solo project for Justin Vernon, and that album has "Skinny Love" on it, which is the biggest Bon Iver song of all.
Huh.
It's very the instrumentation. I mean, you can tell it is one basically one person creating this. It's kind of like the Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska, like it's that sort of vibe, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Um, I like it, but I like this one better. But the reason I bring all that
Yeah.
up is because there's a very wintry sort of identity to this
Mhm.
band. And as far as the name, apparently there was this episode of Northern Exposure. Remember that TV show?
Kind of.
There's this scene where they the first snow starts to fall and then all the people come
Uh-huh.
out of their houses and they tell each other Bon Iver, as in like happy winter, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it fits apparently these early albums, and especially this album. That cover, a little snowy, almost like thrift store painting cover. And yeah, when you get into it, it is an amazing listen. But I've never heard anyone say "Oh, Bon Iver" because I mean it's French or Cajun, I guess, or a Cajun, I guess.
Mm,
But it's cool. You do think immediately that it's a person, kind of like, oh, who's this Bon Iver guy or Bone
right.
Iver or whatever, you know. But yeah, he's a big name, as I'm sure we'll get to.
Yeah, so
That
tell me your
Justin
first
Vernon.
impressions here.
Um, I think it probably took between 3 to 5 full listens before I was very engaged and in love with it. Um, and it really struck me as an amazing pick. I do have a lot of feels for what it reminds me of, but it was a pretty singular, interesting experience. And there's a handful of the songs that I really do love and feel it strongly.
Cool. That's great. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's these songs remind you of things like that's the nature of it. It's not right there on the surface. It just it has to
Yeah.
sink in. It has to like permeate and it just brings out memories. I don't know what it is about this. Something about his voice, the falsetto, the this album was a real leap forward in terms of instrumentation and like the sonic
Mhm.
landscape of it, which is why I love this one so much more than the original.
Yeah. Did this, you said this one found you, you like, I mean, it's what, 2010 or 2012 or something, 2011? Um, and you said this is some of the only new music you heard of that time. Is there a special story you want to share about how you found it or
Yeah,
just kind of random?
that's a really good question. I don't totally remember how I came across them. I just know that, okay, so remember the Twilight movies? Of course you do. Uh,
Yeah.
I love the Twilight movies and I don't care who knows it. What I really love What I really love
Okay.
are the Twilight soundtracks. Casey, these
Okay.
are just a slice of life of like the 2010s. Great, like
Huh.
indie music, really good soundtracks. I can tell you
Hmm.
don't believe me, but it's true. Uh,
I have no point of reference. I'm in the dark here. I really this is getting yeah, I have no idea. I'll take your word for it.
well, Twilight, or sorry, Bon Iver has a song called Roslyn on the New Moon
Okay.
soundtrack. That was probably the first Bon Iver I heard, and it's super like mysterious. I was like, "What is this?" Turns out
Hmm.
Roslyn, that song, is now apparently a trending audio. It's like their biggest song. So
Hmm.
this is 2025.
Is it just the music on it, or is it vocals too? Is there like a specific quality to it that makes it good for younger generation of stuff like reels and TikToks and stuff?
I think it's just really evocative. It sounds like something that could be
Yeah.
on this album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always found it
Is it
kind
the
of,
Fleetwood Mac Dreams? Do you know the Fleetwood Mac Dreams, the native guy on the skateboard and the cranberry juice? Like that's just such a
yeah.
ingrained and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't
So
know, but
amazing.
I hear that
Okay.
it is very famous right now.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very evocative and haunting. And so I kind of knew
Mhm.
about them from that. And I think I don't honestly don't remember. It's just one of those bands that I've loved ever since, you know, I I
Yeah. And Justin is a big name though. Like Bon Iver comes up on Taylor Swift albums and stuff.
oh yeah.
He's a producer. Oh gosh, who's the crazy bleachers guy? They're Lana and Taylor's producer.
Antonov.
Yes, Antonov. He's an upcoming Antonov, maybe.
Yeah, he's been really influential in lots of ways, which we'll get to. Um, but yeah, so Justin Vernon, just a real visionary musician, and I think that in the midst of kind of like when I first announced this pick, I know that you thought it was going to be like the stomp clap Mumford kind of thing that was going on at the time, but it's not that. It's its own thing. Um,
Yeah. To be fair, I do get a little bit of Mumford and Sons and Lumineers from this album, but very sparingly. But I
yeah,
do get it. There's one song on here that I really get it, but the songs on this are going to be the worst thing to talk about because they're almost all places. And I don't know why that is, but it's really tough to discern, kind of this which song is which. But
sure.
we'll give it a whirl.
Well, and this album, like we kind of alluded to already, it was a new sonic direction for the band. Um, added he added several instruments, a lot of collaborators. Really, this became Bon Iver essentially became a music collective with this album, whereas before it was kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this very heartfelt, heart wrenching solo project. With this album, it became a collective. And the interesting thing about this, so this came out in 2011, which means by this point, he had already collaborated with Kanye West on the Twisted Fantasy, incredible,
Mhm. Okay.
beautiful Dark Twisted
Okay.
Fantasy album. Which
Mhm.
I know Kanye West, I know, but I'm a,
Controversial figure. It's okay.
I'm able to separate the art from the
Yeah.
artist, or not separate. That's not the way to say it, but I
We,
can love the art, right?
yeah.
I,
Tesla's putting solar on my roof tomorrow. I don't discuss Elon with people. It's a good company. Yeah, we
but
get it. There's a
this is
separation. Not everything needs to be political or moral.
I'm just here to tell you, Mike's hot take here is that either my beautiful dark twisted fantasy or the follow-up Yeezus, one of those two is the best album of the 21st century.
Oh boy. Oh boy. What about this amazing tie-in I'm about to throw your way? What about the previous 808 and Heartbreaks, which literally Justin Vernon and another dude from Bon Iver took and worked with Swamp Dogg and made Love, Lost, and Auto Tunes in 2018, which is actually how we got to this episode in place right now.
That's right. And I did listen to it.
Yeah.
It's way cool.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
how's
so
that for just a fun circle within this whole episode?
I like it. I like it. But yeah, so at this point, so as the story goes, so okay, Bon Iver, he released the For Emma album. Then there was this EP called Blood Bank. Well, on Blood Bank, there's a song called Woods, and Kanye wanted to make that into, he wanted to interpolate that
Mm,
into his song Lost in the World, like the ending of the Twisted Fantasy album. And
hmm
that is what it led him to contact Justin Vernon and invite him out to Hawaii to record on the Twisted
Wow.
Fantasy album. And I mean, Justin Vernon is all over that album. He is on Monster.
hmm hmm
It's brilliant. The whole thing is brilliant.
hmm
I love what Justin Vernon brought to that album. He's also brilliant on Yeezus too. I don't know if I'm brave enough to ever cover the album Yeezus on this show or on this
hmm
podcast, but I
Right.
want to because it is, oh boy.
Hey, I've heard it. I've heard it. It's been a long time. I remember when it came out, I was like, well, that's the death of CDs. I was like, I don't even know what that looks like on vinyl because it's just a blank CD case.
I would love to
But
see
yeah, I
it.
remember it being an intense experience, possibly more so than Dark and Twisted Fantasy. And I will never, I will never diminish the impact of that album and what it had on me in the 20 teens. I voted it the number one of the decade. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to change that opinion because that video experience hadn't been really
Yeah.
done since Michael Jackson's Thriller. And it's like a movie. When you watch it, the full artistic vision expressed it in it with all the people involved is what an artistic vision is, regardless of what you think of the person making it. I
Yeah.
mean, it
Well
is
said.
next level. And unfortunately for him, musically, we'll stick with music. I think his career never reached that peak again. And it's like, well, of course, right?
Yeah. Well, I would say Yeezus is right up there, but then it's a sharp dive musically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
uh,
I'm with you.
okay, hey, there is
But
a
we're
lot of
talking about,
Kanye Bon Iver connection.
but this
So let's
episode
get
is
back.
about Justin Vernon and Bon Iver. But yes, so um, because of that, because of him going and collaborating on that project, I think that maybe is what opened him up to
Mm,
start collaborating with other people. So that's what happened.
okay.
Um, Now the lyrics on this, I would describe them as opaque, very hard to discern. He's almost mumbling, I would say maybe on purpose. The point isn't the words. The point is what the words
Right.
evoke. Same with like, there's all kinds of imagery and symbols in the artwork on the album, which are really, again, mysterious. But certain lines cut through, and it may take 5 or 6 listens before they do.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but
That's
it,
cool though. That reminds me of like what we grew up with in the 90s and like Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins. You had all these bands, you just had no idea what they were saying unless they were nice enough to include lyrics. I would say the Pixies forward is kind of the era of that, mysterious lyrics that are more musical than they are meaningful in the English vernacular.
yep, yep, well said. I agree. So the first
Okay.
song on the album is called Perth. So do you know anything about the backstory of this one?
I am bringing up my notes right now. Continue on.
So the deal here is, and I didn't realize this until I started like researching the album, but um, so this was actually a kind of a tribute or a eulogy of sorts to Heath Ledger. I think
Hmm.
it's a little hard to follow, but I think Justin Vernon knew somebody who was very close with Heath Ledger, and this was right when Heath Ledger died. And Heath Ledger was
Yeah.
from Perth, Australia. And
Okay. Okay.
there's all kinds of like inside meanings too that I was reading about where apparently Perth, which rhymes with birth, and then you go through like the life cycle through the course of the album, and then it ends with Beth, rest, which rhymes with death. So it's like really interesting structure here. But Perth is a
Yeah.
pretty powerful song musically.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about the background, but it does kind of start and set the feel more or less. There's some really cool snare drumming in it. I like that.
Oh yeah,
Almost like a marching element.
it's got that double kick drum at the chorus.
Yeah. And there's a horn that comes in, I assume is a French horn, but when I heard that, I probably got the closest approximation for who this band reminds me of, which is Beirut. And I don't know if you even know Beirut, but
I don't.
very French-ish and lots of, kind of street French songs with horns. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah, it's a good start. And the song's fine. It's not one of my favorites, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool to know the background. Where
I
are we going
watched
next? To Minnesota?
I watched an interview with the French horn player from Bon Iver, and it was
Uh-huh.
pretty interesting hearing him talk about how,
Nice.
when that moment comes in the song, like as a French horn player, I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you from trying to play French horn for a week that you're going to give it your best shot at hitting the note. You might not. And so that's why his interview, it was
Yeah.
great. But yeah, tell me which ones are
True.
your standout tracks.
Oh, okay. I think Towers is my favorite, which I believe is the second single and maybe the most popular single off here, but also Michicant or Michicant, I guess.
Yeah, Mishikant is
Um,
the waltz.
yeah, it's a real melancholy waltz, if I'm
Hmm.
remembering right.
Well,
Towers is kind of an upbeat one and just has this beautiful lifting chorus where he really goes into like more of his high voice and
yeah.
almost like a countryish breakdown. I tried my best, and I'm literally I have to use these notes in my hand right now because this is such a tough one to like discern where you're at.
Yeah. Well, let me read this for
Really.
you because I thought that this was pretty interesting about where towers came from, the origins.
Uh,
It's a little long, but here we go. This is Vernon talking. He says, Towers is the name of the dormitory that I lived in college. It's made up of these two towers, north and south. My girlfriend lived in one, and I lived in the other. It's about falling in love, but also about what happens when you've long fallen out of love, and those reminders are still there. You drive by them, these two buildings, and you look and you realize that we really built that up, that we really built that love into these things. And for a long time afterward, looking at them really made me feel sad to see these empty buildings that I don't go into anymore. But then as time goes on, they start to become kind of joyous in their own way. You can look at them and think, that love was great, and these buildings still stand tall. But there's also an element of the fact that they're just buildings. They're going to fall down one day. And they're not that important because there's new love in your life, and you've got to break things down that get built up.
hmm. But I mean, I don't know how old he is when he's writing this and doing this album, but I mean, some pretty mature, fully fledged thoughts.
It's beautiful.
The kind that I have now, but not not when I was 20 something. I don't.
Right.
How old is he here?
Great
Do
question.
you know? Yeah. Okay. We don't have that. All right.
No,
Guy in the background behind the screen. Can you bring that up for us?
fact check.
I love
Um,
how that's a job now. There's like people that bring up stuff on the internet for podcasts, and it's a job. So
yeah.
what is the name of that job? Expert internet searcher. But
Mm.
anywho,
Well,
the album is a really peaceful, ambient, almost. Like it gets away from lyrics so heavily. I mean, this I think the second song, Minnesota, is probably one of the cleanest vocals on it.
mhm,
And whenever he kind of goes into clean, I'm not gonna jab here. I'm trying to remain positive, but I do get different feels musically, like Coldplay-ish, and
sure.
sometimes that's when I feel some of those other sounds, other bands comparisons. But yeah, it's like the smaller music that reminds me of like bands I really love from this period, like Neutral Milk Hotel, and especially this would be the overarching one of all is Alt J,
Oh yeah.
which
Hmm.
I don't know if you know well, but Alt J is kind of my Bon Iver.
Cool.
They're a little more sonically recorded, obviously, and a little bit more of a rock band per se, but they have these sounds that move musically, and it's like you don't need to know what it is if it's a guitar or a voice or a piano. Like how the music moves is so remarkable.
Hmm.
And yeah, that Alt J, I brought it. This is the one. This
Yeah.
is the one that I absolutely love. Love, love, love this one. And I got another one of theirs and I couldn't get into it.
Does that one have Blood Flood on it? That's the Alt J song I love.
Probably. It's been a little while. It has Tessellate and Breeze Blocks. I remember those for sure.
Cool.
Blood Flood. Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
So we're both fans. I'm preaching to the choir here.
Well, that's a good comparison. I hadn't thought about that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah, there's a few things like Postal Service, maybe even a little bit kind of
mm,
poppy, but there's all this like Iron and Wine era stuff.
sure. Yeah,
And
and
I'm not putting this album down. I love it. I love it.
I agree with you though. To me, it's his when he's singing falsetto is where it really hits. That's where it's really
Mhm.
special. And when he sings in his lower register, it can be cool, but there's nothing quite like the towers, like you
Yeah.
said. Well, and can I
Oh
talk
yeah.
about my favorite song? So
Yes, please.
this is partly why I chose this album as opposed to For Emma or the one after this, which is also very
Uh-huh.
good. My favorite is Holocene. Um,
Okay, I
and
was gonna guess it.
yeah, okay, I should have let you. It's when you talk about melancholy. I mean, this just that line that cuts through when he says, "And once I knew I was not magnificent." It's this kind of existential moment of realizing your own insignificance, but also
Hmm.
your significance too. Like that
Sure.
you're just a you're just a human,
Yeah.
but yet you're a human, and like be your place in the world. It's just a beautiful, beautiful message. I found a quote from him about this one too, if you'll indulge me.
Nice. Yes.
He says Holocene is a bar in Portland, Oregon, but it's also the name of a geologic
Yeah.
era. It's an epoch. I don't know how to pronounce that, if you will. It's a good example of how all the songs are all meant to come together as this idea that places are times and people are places and times are people. They can all be different and the same at the same time. Most of our lives feel like these epochs. That's kind of what this song's
Hmm.
about. Once I knew I was not magnificent. Our lives feel like these epochs, but really we are dust in the wind. But I think there's a significance in that insignificance that I was trying to look at in that song. And you
That is
couple
very interesting.
and you couple that with just this music washing over you, flooding over you, and these textures
Mm.
and his falsetto, and it's overwhelming. It's one of my favorite pieces of music of this whole 2 decades that we've been
Mhm.
in.
And this was kind of the big track from this album, no?
It was,
More
I
or
want to
less.
say, yeah, I want to say it was
There
nominated
was some
for
singles.
Grammys, maybe.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, out of my notes, I actually don't have a lot on that one, but I love that you said that it is a bar in Portland because, of course, when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, like what, because everything on here mostly is a place. And I'm like, is that about the Holocene in Portland? Because, of course, I did go to the Holocene and it was probably the most ridiculous hipster bar in Portland on the east side. And I did see some pretty cool bands, some local stuff. I remember seeing an African band there, Extra Golden, which was a new experience for me. But yeah, it was such a scene. I used to joke and call it the shallow scene because
mm,
it was really hipster. Like I was not cool enough to be in there at all. But I
yeah.
went a few times just for the music.
Hmm.
But oh boy. Oh boy. So that's fun.
Well, there are a couple of other real standout tracks to me. I like Wash. That's the one's very quiet piano, very delicate. Calgary is like it's
Piano
like a
two notes.
yeah, yep,
The
that's
two
right.
notes on that piano, I love that one.
Yeah, me too.
I really tried
Calgary,
on this mic.
I know you did. I appreciate that. Ca
Yeah, it was tough. It's so tough. The last one, Beth slash Rest, I think that might be one of my least favorites.
yeah, I figured that'd
Uh,
be the case. That one's got a real Bruce Hornsby kind of feel to it.
yeah, yeah. Hinham, Texas is really great because he's working with his vocals twice. He's got, not harmonizing, but he's running two tracks of his vocals there, and I really like that one.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, it's a satisfying listening experience. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I listened to it a lot in the car. I listened to it last weekend on the way up and back from Ashland some. Sarah likes probably most of the tracks I like. And it's just a nice, pretty atmospheric driving or otherwise, chill listen. It's
Yeah.
not going to pick you up and help you clean the dishes or anything, but it is beautiful and it's not too haunting either. And I like
Right.
that about it. I don't want something that's really going to make me dwell on maybe a negative thought. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's something special about it. I want to hear more. I want to look into more Bon Iver. So I
yeah, it's
really
like
do.
an existential hug. It's like a somebody else gets it
Yeah,
kind of feel. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
I mean, this album's
comforting.
very intimate. Yeah,
It
it is.
is.
It's a very intimate album. I
Well,
mean, was it recorded like with the full band, like in this little winter cabin? 'Cause that's what I picture, of course, with the
I
album
don't think it
cover.
was in the cabin, but I do think it was like in some building that was like important to him up in Wisconsin where he's from. But yeah,
Okay.
to me, anytime it rains, particularly in the fall, this is what I put on. There's just
Mhm.
something about it. But yeah,
Well,
talking
I
about
can't
what
wait for that.
talking yeah, talking about what else they went on to do. So the next album, it's called 22 a Million. It has some, I would say it has some moments of brilliance. It doesn't overpower me like this one does, but if you want to take a listen to that one, to me, the standouts on that one are called Eight Circle, and then the final track, which is 00000 million. Very good. You mentioned Taylor Swift. He does.
Yes, yes.
He did collaborate with her on a song called Exile, which is really great, and obviously kind of worked both ways, where it gave Bon Iver lots more exposure, but it also gave Taylor Swift a lot of indie credibility. And I believe that was on the oh, I forget the name of it, the woodsy one that came out during the pandemic.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
Um,
no doubt.
there's another kind of cool. He's collaborated with a lot of people. One really cool, more recent one is on Charlie XCX, not Brat, but like the version of Brat. Um,
Mhm.
it's he does a song that incorporates Bonnie Raitt's "Nick of Time" with Charlie XCX. It's called "I Think About It All the Time." It's really cool, really really cool.
Nice. Nice. And
And
then, of
yeah,
course, I don't have the new Swamp Dog, but I have to show off Rat On. Rat On, because I'm seeing him Saturday. So
I thought that was
uh,
coming
we'll,
up soon.
we'll come back to that.
One final note for me is you mentioned Coldplay, and kind of there are some contemporaries that gets into that territory. For me, another one is the National. I don't know if
Okay.
you're into the National at all, but it's kind of that quote unquote sad dad music.
Okay. National is fantastic. I am
National's
only familiar with,
fantastic. I,
but
I, I feel like Bon Iver is like the comforting version, and the National is kind of the devastating version of this genre.
okay. Yeah, he can be pretty serious. The hip dad rock you need is the hold steady. That'll pick you up. Oh man. So I do have our next pick for when we reconvene next. And in light of Brian Wilson's death, I chose to make a Beach Boys tangent in the only way that I can do successfully here, which is an obscure reference. Brian Wilson, of course, was a total genius, but most people don't know is that the Beach Boys had their own record label, Brother Records, and they only put out Beach Boys albums except for one South African band, The Flames, that had been around since the 60s, early 60s. I don't know the story why, but we're going to learn about it why, hopefully. And so they put out one album by this group, and they had to change the name to The Flame. And that is these gentlemen right here.
The
Oh, boy.
Flame.
So you, right there, the Brother Record, which is the Beach Boys label. And after this, two of these guys, there's three brothers, the Fattar brothers. One of them and a guy named Blondie Chaplin actually joined the Beach Boys for, I think, 2.5 years and toured with them. So, obscure Beach Boys tangent.
Okay, I love it. I've been of course going down some Beach Boys rabbit holes on YouTube, and um
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've always been on the periphery of the whole Beach Boys universe. The one that gets me, I don't know if I'll ever do it on this show, but is the album shoot, it's the one with with that like offensive cover.
Pet
Surfs Up.
sounds? What?
Surfs Up.
Surfs up? I didn't know it was offensive. Now I got to find it. That's like an early one of them, right?
No, so it's basically like some stuff from Smile. You know how he was
Okay.
after Pet Sounds, when everything imploded.
Yeah.
Brian was working on
Sure.
it. So the song "Surfs Up." This is totally a tangent, but it was apparently like a total like kiss off, like basically saying
Huh.
that's over. Surfs Up, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
the cover of the album is the like uh, it's the sculpture of the Native American with the spear.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah. 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 That's a famous album too.
it's
That's a
got some
famous album too.
it's got some real just terrible throwaway tracks, but then it has some of the most beautiful feel
Yeah.
flows. The song "Feel
Hmm.
Flows" on
Hmm.
Surfs Up. Not to mention the title track. Unbelievable. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'll
I
ever
mean,
do it on this pod, but
Brian Wilson was the first person to walk in the studio and go, "Okay, fine, this is my instrument." So he was the first automator, the first Antonov, the first any of these guys. He's like, "Okay, this is my voice track one, my voice track two, my voice track three." People weren't doing that. Not even Phil Spector. Like seriously,
Well,
he
and
changed music, and
he
that's why
did.
the Beatles. I'm sorry, Beach Boys didn't sit well because they were staunchly in pre 65 and Pet Sounds was like it, and then it was like, nope, we're not of this era, we're not of this time, and it's so sad because I love older 50s music, 55 to 65, and people who love it know that it's the era of unrequited love, and it's a beautiful era in music, and it's being forgotten, and the
Well,
Beach Boys are the end of it.
and you want to talk about a voice that conveys unrequited love? I mean, Carl.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, all of them, Dennis, all of them. Just not Mike Love. No, just kidding. There's so much hate against Mike Love, but I mean, I like his voice, and the Beach Boys cassette was like the first thing I loved when I was a little kid. I Get Around and 409, and we're making a sub episode here on the Beach Boys, but yeah, wait till you hear on YouTube, I guess. Wait till you hear the Flame and the Fatar
Flame.
brothers. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're actually the Flames, but they had to drop the S because of James Brown.
I
The
may
famous Flames.
I may need you to drop a
So,
link to this YouTube in the
yeah.
comments.
So this album was produced by Carl Wilson.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's quite
Cool.
rare. And thank you, June. I appreciate you so much, June. You're the best, dude. He sold me this copy because it's incredibly rare.
Nice. Cool. I'll
Yeah,
check it
and
out.
it's incredibly fun. All right, Mike. Sweet. Well, that was. Let's hope my new mic worked.
All right, everyone. We'll see you later.